Kayla. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. I know you're pretty busy, but I also know that you've had some concerns with this student that has a lot of problem behaviors. So I wanted to meet with you and we can discuss what those problem behaviors are, and discuss the data and what data collection system we're going to use for you to collect the necessary data we need to come up with a plan for your student. Okay. So I just would like to first ask you to describe what your student's problem behaviors are.
Okay, so this student likes to blurt out. He likes to blurt out random noises. He likes to lay on the floor when he's not supposed to. He likes to break his pencil sometimes, and sometimes he scribbles over his work. He also likes to be rough with some of the students.
Okay.
And when we're walking, he sometimes jumps around. He crawls.
Like jumping and crawling at inappropriate times?
Yeah, inappropriate times. Yeah. So if we're
Like
walking
when?
to lunch, when we're walking to lunch, he'll kind of like bang himself to the wall, like he throws himself on the wall, kind of, or he'll crawl, or he'll be jumping around as we're walking.
Okay. So you said being rough with students. Can you be a little more specific as to what that looks like? Because being rough could mean pushing, could mean elbowing, could be punching. Can you define what that looks like a little more specifically?
So he likes to pull on other students' clothing, or he kind of pushes students sometimes when we're walking in line, or he kind of hits them with his shoulder.
Like this?
Yeah, or during when we're sitting on the carpet, on the rug.
Is it rough, like really, with a lot of force, or is it kind of like a little nudge?
Well, sometimes it's with force, and sometimes it's just trying to distract them. Or he'll poke students too when we're at the carpet and I'm teaching a lesson. He'll kind of be poking them, or kind of hit them with his shoulders, or yeah. So he likes to do.
Okay. So you described a few behaviors, right? So he breaks his pencils or scribble. He's rough with the students. He just disrupts the classroom. He makes loud noises. Blurt out. Do you mean blurt out just random noises or answers or?
He likes to. He blurts out random noises. And he also likes to. So if we're doing math and I'm saying we're going over a problem or something, he'll blurt out the wrong number. So if the answer is 4, he'll blurt out 16. If the answer is yes, he'll say no.
Okay. And lying on the floor, is that also while you walk to lunch, or is that
That's mostly during rug time. So when we're on the carpet, he'll lay, and then he'll sometimes start messing with the chairs. Like he'll start pulling on the chairs.
So you've talked about a few behaviors: blurting out, making noises, and disrupting the class, lying on the floor, breaking pencils, scribbling, being rough with students, jumping and crawling as you're walking to lunch. So out of all these behaviors, which one is the priority for you? Which one is the one that's most concerning that you want to work on first?
The behavior that's more concerning to me is his constant blurting out, his constant interruptions, because that causes some of the students to lose focus it causes some of the students to not hear what I say. Or it also causes them to get distracted. Or sometimes what happens is if he's blurting out these noises, the kids kind of think it's okay. So they may, sometimes they echo him.
So they imitate him.
Imitate him.
Okay. So I also want to ask you what the common antecedents are. So antecedents are just basically what happens before the behavior occurs, right? So if you could just give me a few things that happen. An example would be like when we give him an assignment, like do the first problem. Will he interrupt by screaming loud noises? It doesn't have to be words, it could just be noises to interrupt the class, or when you tell him, okay, I want you to write your name in all capitals, just an example. He'll respond by saying, no, I don't want to do it, and says it loudly enough to interrupt the rest of the class. Or can you just give me what happens, an example of what happens before the behavior occurs?
Before the behavior occurs, usually it is when we go to our tables, when I send them to their tables, and they are writing their name. That's one of the times that usually occurs, or when he needs help, but I'm helping another student, so he may have to wait while I'm helping another student. So that's one of them. And another one, when we're on the carpet, it usually tends to be because in the beginning of the day we sing songs, they watch a little video and we sing songs. So when it gets to, I would say, about getting to the actual lesson, where they have to be completely quiet while I'm speaking, that's when it tends to happen. And it usually tends to happen after the first hour and a half or 2 hours of once school started.
Okay. So it tends to happen, when did you say?
I would say after after recess, and then after he's writing his name.
Did you say that within the first half hour? I thought I heard you say.
Oh, usually like after the first hour and a half or 2 hours of once school started. So maybe around 10:30.
That was actually my next question. What time of day it happens? So you said it happens around after recess, or about an hour, 2 hours after school starts. So that's a common pattern that you've seen.
Yes.
At the time of day it happens. Does it get worse, or does it stay the same as the day goes on?
I would say that it gets worse as the day goes on. Like, he starts off fine in the morning. Right when he gets into the class, he's okay. He's sitting quietly. He's, focused.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the day progresses, he just gets worse.
Okay. So I just want to summarize a little bit. So we said the common antecedents are when you tell them to sit at their tables and you give them like an assignment, especially like maybe writing his name, which he's okay with doing, or does he have trouble writing some letters, or
Right now he doesn't know how to write his name.
okay.
He never has been in school. He didn't go to preschool or TK, so he doesn't know any of his letters.
Never been in school. Okay. So when he's waiting for your help, for example, you give him that assignment and you're working with another student, he's waiting, that's when it tends to happen.
Yes.
Okay. The behavior, again, just to define, blurting, when you say interrupting rather, it's blurting out noises or blurting out wrong answers.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'd like to talk about the consequence. So, consequence, usually when we think about consequence, we think about negative things, right? Like the consequence of stealing is going to jail or being arrested, or just an example. So we think of it in a negative way, right? But in ABA, when we're talking about problem behaviors, consequence or consequent behaviors just mean what happens after.
Okay.
Immediately after the behavior occurs. So an example would be if he's off task, you say, Johnny, for example, do your work.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime he's off task, that's the consequent action or behavior on your part, is that he's reprimanded. Like, you should do your work. You're not doing your work. You're not doing what you should be doing. So if you can give me some information about the consequences that happen after he engages in that behavior.
Okay, so when he engages in that behavior, I look at him and I tell him that he's interrupting the class. He's not letting the other students learn that behavior is not acceptable in the classroom, that he needs to use his inside voice. And so that usually tends to happen. Sometimes, I have to stop and I look at him in the eyes and I explain to him, it's not okay what you're doing. And I also, after the second time that I have to stop to talk to him, I will move his clothespin down, because we have a clothespin system. So when they are doing their work, or they're kind to someone, or they're being respectful, their clothespin moves up. But when they're blurting out loud, or when they hit somebody, or they're being physical, or they're not doing what they're supposed to, their clothespin gets moved down.
So it's like a token economy.
Yes.
Okay. How often would you say that this behavior occurs in a regular school day?
In a regular school day, I would say this occurs about 20 times.
How long do you think each of those interrupting episodes lasts?
So his blurting will be maybe 2-3 seconds. And then they'll be every 5 minutes. So he'll be quiet for a little bit and then he'll start again.
So this is a kindergarten classroom. So how long are the kids in school for your class?
They're there from 8:30 to 2:05, Monday through Wednesday and Friday. On Thursdays, they go from they start at 8:30 and they're off at 12:30.
Lucky.
Yeah.
So, how long would you say? Well, how often do you think it would be okay for him to interrupt? Right? Because we want to create a goal for him, right?
Yes.
Let's say he's interrupting 20 times a day, and the goal would be he will only interrupt 2 times a day. That's kind of a big leap, don't you think?
Yeah.
If he's going from 20, he has to go down to 2. That's a big leap. So how long, what would your goal to be for him? How many times is he allowed to interrupt?
My goal would be for him to interrupt about 5 times a day. Yeah, I would say 5.
And that's no more or less than your students usually interrupt?
Yes.
Most of them?
Yeah, since they're in kindergarten, a lot of them, have never been in school, so they're still kind of learning what school is like, what's appropriate behavior. So, I would say about 5 times.
Okay, about 5 times a day. So we talked about problem behaviors that your student has. Can you tell me something good that he does? Something he's really good at.
He's good at being a helper.
Okay.
So if I tell him, okay, after we clean up, can you go take this to the back table? He'll do it. Can you close the door?
He follows your instructions. Sorry.
Yeah, certain things. Yeah. So when he's helping me.
When it's not academic.
Yeah.
Okay. How long do you think he's actually on task? Like not interrupting. Like throughout the whole day, how long would you say that he actually stays on task?
Mm,
Because we're talking about 8 in the morning to 2:30, right?
Mhm.
2:30.
No,
That's 6
yeah.
hours. About 6
Yeah.
hours. Except for Thursday. How long of those 6 hours? Well, let's take away. Let's say it's 5 because of lunch and recess and everything. Do they have naps? They don't have naps.
No,
right?
they don't have naps. They have two recesses, and then that's an hour because they get two recess, and then their lunch is half an hour,
Okay.
so that's like an hour and a half away from the.
So about 6 hours of actual being in class and doing activities and stuff, right? Because it's 8 to 2.
Yeah.
So how much of that time is he actually on task and not interrupted?
I would say about. I would say about 3 hours.
So
4
about
hours.
50% of the time.
Yeah.
So, this information you've given me, what I want to do is I want to give you a way to collect data. Okay? That way I can have a clearer idea of how many times this behavior is actually occurring. Because right now, off the top of your head, you're thinking it's about 20 times, right?
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes for about 2 to 3 seconds. But by giving you a way to collect the data, then I'll have like a clearer picture of how long or how often this behavior is occurring, what the most common antecedents are, just patterns of behavior, right? So that we can come up with a plan for him. So the data collection system I want you to do is basically I just want you to track the frequency of the behavior throughout the day.
Okay.
So I want you to tally. It's pretty easy. All you have to do is write the time of the date, sorry.
Mhm.
So for example, today's the 14th. So September 14th, 2018. And I want you to track how many times it happens
Okay.
throughout the day, right? So just to be clear, I want you to, I'll give you the sheets right now, and you're going to write the date. You can write the student's name as well, and if you need to, you can write the behavior, and then just tally
Okay.
every time it happens, okay? I want you to start recording this, because today's Friday, okay? I want you to start recording on Monday, and then until Friday.
Okay.
So Monday through Friday you record, and then Saturday, we'll meet next Saturday. I think it's the 14th, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 22nd, I think, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. It's Saturday. We'll meet again and go over the data
Okay.
and see how often it's actually happening, and then come up with a plan. Okay?
Okay.
So we'll meet next Saturday just to review the data. Do you have any questions?
No, I think you answered them. So I'm just gonna tally
Do you
the.
just want to review real quick? Can you tell me how you're going to collect the data?
So I'm gonna write the date. For example, today's September 14, 2018.
Right.
And I'm gonna, if I want, I could write disruptive behavior or the blurting, and then count tally how many when it happens
Right.
per
How
day.
many times?
Yeah, how many times per day?
The good thing is that this behavior is pretty clear, right? There's
Yeah.
no question about whether is he interrupting, is he disrupting. You already know what it looks like.
Yes.
Right? So there's not going to be a question about whether it's happening or not. Once you see it, you just tally it. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Let me know if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.